Hey everyone, Jason Sherman here. In today's episode of Zero to CEO, I speak with visionary entrepreneur, author Mitch Francis. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for having me.
No problem. And today we're going to have bold solutions to the world's biggest problems. That's a big ask, man. Because there's a
Wait,
lot of big
ask
problems.
or big ask?
It was a little bit of a pun, right? So big,
Okay.
big ask and an ask. But I mean, there's a lot of problems right now. I mean, the pandemic has kind of exacerbated it, and it's over now. But now there's like other problems. There's wars. I mean, it's so hard to kind of just get into it. So let's just kind of pick away at the pieces. There's climate change, national debt, there's education reform, gun control, and there's so many more things happening. How do you even begin to tackle them or even think about them?
It's interesting question. I actually had a family tragedy. About 2.5 years ago, you may remember that there was a mass killing in a suburb of Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And during a Fourth of July parade of
Yes.
all things, and this crazed young man with assault rifles killed 7 people and wounded a lot more. And one of the people he killed was my brother-in-law's brother.
Oh,
And yeah, just horrible.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And this was such a great guy. And
Didn't
needless
deserve
to
it.
say, the family was devastated, and I was certainly hurt by it. But I left angry, Jason,
Yeah.
and it kind of kicked my ass. I looked around, and I've always been kind of a news guy
Mhm.
and current events, and it's just kind of my nature to go, well, why don't they just do this?
Yeah.
And to solve it. And I keep looking around and saying we have all these really major problems that nobody's doing anything about. A lot of lip service, but they're not solving these problems.
Yeah, and I keep seeing a lot of people saying, like, why do we need assault rifles? I mean, owning a handgun, I can understand for home protection,
Right.
or for, just a hobby if you want to go to the target range or whatnot. But assault rifles, like, what's the use case?
Well, unless we're invading Canada, there isn't one.
Right. For the army, right? It's first, so it doesn't make sense to me. So why don't we just get rid of them? Why can't we?
Well, there's a big gun lobby, and people are afraid that if you start taking assault rifles, that you're going to take their like you said, the handguns. But we have 20 million assault rifles in the U.S.
Whoa, that's like 10% of the population.
It's
Almost.
huge. It's just huge, and like it's a military quality weapon
Yeah,
that in my view, doesn't belong in the hands of civilians. And listen, I'm all for the Second Amendment. I own
sure.
guns. I have guns for protection in my house.
Sure. Me too.
There you go.
No
But
assault rifles.
no assault rifles. And it's kind of funny. Like, wouldn't it be cool to have a bazooka
Yeah, or a rocket launcher.
or yeah, or a
Let's
tank or a
be James
machine
Bond
gun?
for a day.
But you can't because the government drew a line and said, no, you can't have those things. You can have
Right.
guns, but you can't have those things. And for a while, we couldn't have assault rifles, and then that kind of went
They
away that you
opened it
can
up.
have them. But I think as a society, we do have the ability and the right to say, these things are being abused,
Yeah.
and we've got to stop it. Look, President
Well,
Trump was shot
right.
a couple months ago by a crazed guy
Sniper.
with an
Yeah.
assault rifle.
Yeah.
And when does this end?
Right. So
And
I have to ask you, what is your badass solution for the assault rifle problem?
I have a badass solution.
Let's hear
And
it.
it pisses a lot of people off, but I don't see another way.
Okay.
And that is that, again, we have the right to make laws. And my hope with the whole book is that people get inspired, get something that touches their heart to be involved. And we can create a very super majority of people, of Americans, to tell other people, to write to their representatives. Our representatives in Congress work for us.
Right.
They like to think it's the other way around, but they work for
They work
us.
for us. Yeah.
And if we demand it, if enough Americans demand this change, we can do something badass. We can say the US government is going to buy back your assault rifles. You have 30 days to turn them in. We know where they are.
We did that
The
with
vast
gold.
majority, they were registered. We know
We know
who
who owns
has
them.
them.
Yeah.
You have 30 days to turn them in. And you know what? If you don't, you're going to jail for a year.
Oh, wow. I'd be turning mine in if that was.
That's where I come from is, you've got to have solutions that have a chance of working.
Yeah.
If we just, are kind of namby-pamby and say, please turn in your assault rifles because they're dangerous.
No
Not going
one's
to
gonna
happen.
do it. No one's gonna
Not
do
going
it.
to happen.
Yeehaw! Let's keep shooting. I get it. So let's go. Let's talk about some more topics. There's a bunch of them I want to cover. I mean, the biggest one these days as well is climate change. It's constantly in the news. I mean, we're getting hit with like snowstorm, and then it's sunny the next day, and the ocean levels are causing tsunamis and lots of problems. And some places don't have any water. So how do we fix that?
Well, you hit on the two directions that I went, actually. Uh, I can't really stop global warming. This is going to take decades for
Of
us to,
course.
to wean ourselves off of fossil fuels and,
Yep.
stop anyway. So I went after, well, what's the result of global warming? And the worst one that I found is what you just mentioned, the rising ocean levels.
Yeah.
And here we have a problem that's affecting the entire planet
Mm-hmm.
that we have, I tell you, we have a catastrophe, a global catastrophe that is good socioeconomic going to be worse than
Yeah.
anything that's ever faced humans in our history. And to break it down a bit, the global warming is causing the polar ice caps to melt at a rate that would fill 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools every second.
That's ridiculous.
It's unbelievable how much water.
That's nuts.
By the end of this century, all coasts, coastal cities, and islands are going to be flooded.
Yeah. It's already happening.
It's happening. We've got last year was the hottest temperatures on Earth in
Mm-hmm.
recorded history, and it's continuing to get worse.
This might be a silly question, but if all that water is that's coming in and most of it's salt water, why don't they just install humongous, desalination machine factories on the coastlines and just get fresh water into the places that need it? Because we're running out of water.
Well, you're 100%
I
right,
just
and
don't
that's
get it.
actually, you
I
know
really
what?
don't
That's
get it.
actually my secondary solution.
Okay.
I came with two solutions for this. We can actually stop the ocean levels from rising, and at the same time, move all that fresh water to
Yeah.
deliver drinking water and
Yes.
irrigation water to the billions of people living in the most parched areas of our planet.
That's what
We
I'm
can
saying.
do this, and I found something phenomenal.
Okay.
I do a lot of research when I approach a problem and a solution. And so not only did I find how much water is coming into the oceans from the melting ice caps, but it shocked me to find that all that water, 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools every second, is a tiny fraction of the water that's going into the oceans from just our 20 largest rivers.
Hmm. Interesting.
So if we channel just 7% of the water from our 20 largest rivers and move it to arid lands, we
Hmm.
can actually stop the ocean levels from rising and at the same time stop hunger and thirst
Yeah.
on our planet. This is an amazing thing. And it sounds like a pie in the sky, but I got to tell you, this has been done. We have a model for this
Okay.
for decades
So
already.
it's
There's
possible.
a program. I'm sorry.
So it's possible to do this.
It's been done for decades already. There's a program called the Central Arizona Project, and they take water from the Colorado River and move it 336 miles to deliver fresh water to 5 million people in Phoenix and Tucson.
Wow.
So it's been done.
I mean, it's a proven method. I mean, we just have to wake up and start doing this. And
On a
there's and,
global basis.
and there's so many more, again, there's so many more solutions that we'd like to tackle. One I keep seeing every day, today the CPI report came out a little higher than expected.
Right.
Last week, no more rate cuts or they're staying the same. And then you got the debt and you got unemployment and like, what are we, 30 something trillion, $40 trillion in debt? I mean, is that really even a debt? How do we wipe it out? How do we get rid of this so-called debt that we have?
Well, this one takes a little more discussion, but it's an enormous problem. We're $36 trillion in debt, and it's growing by another $1 trillion every 100 days.
Oh my Lord.
It's incredible. So the US is just drowning in its debt and particularly interest payments, because it just keeps building on itself.
Keeps
We're
building on itself.
borrowing to pay interest. Like if you did that for your home, for your own home finances, you'd be bankrupt real quick.
But they're not on the line for this, right? I mean, they're just printing more money to buy more treasuries and then selling them to banks. It's like it seems like a never-ending perpetual cycle of money printing and lending and borrowing, and like, is that what, am I missing something here?
No, no, you're not.
Oh, okay, okay.
You're
So
not.
make sure.
I don't think you're missing anything at all. But but we really are not going to solve this problem with, the politicians are running around with their hair on fire and they're saying, we're going to lower your taxes, but we're going to raise the, taxes on the rich, and we're going to stop spending so much money, and have Doge in there with Musk, and I think they're doing great. But maybe they're going to save $1 trillion of government spending a year, but we have
Which
36
100
trillion to dig
days.
out of.
Yeah, but you just said 100 days, it's back again.
Exactly.
So like,
So
what does that do? That doesn't do anything.
no, it's not. We need something badass to solve this. And let me try to move a little quickly here.
Okay.
That through most of the history of the United States, we were on the gold standard.
Yes.
And the gold standard was really fascinating. It said that the US could print money, print paper, paper money, and pay for its goods and services that it buys with
Based
that
on.
paper money. And it represented value
Mm-hmm.
of the gold we have stored at Fort Knox.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole premise of it. And it worked perfectly. You could even, American citizens even had the ability to trade like a $20 paper bill for $20 worth of gold.
Yeah. Or
It
vice
was a
versa.
very pure exchange. And when I looked at this, I said, from accounting perspective, from actual accounting practice, let's look at this. The US has much more assets than just gold.
Yeah.
We've got land and minerals and planes and ships and military installations and hospitals and schools and parks and just on and on. So it's many, many times the asset value of just our gold.
Yeah.
So I
100%.
came up with this thing that I called the asset standard,
Oh,
which can work the same way as the gold standard. But now you've got much, much more real assets of the United States. And we can literally go the same way, like we were able to print dollar bills. We can write checks against the value of our assets. So we can send China, who owns $1 trillion of our securities, of our treasury securities,
yeah.
with a note. Thank you very much. We're
Yeah.
paying you back. Here's the $1 trillion. So then the question is, will they cash the check and will it clear?
Right.
So we're gonna pay everybody off. Your Aunt Betty and the government of China are going to rush to their banks and deposit those checks, and they are going to clear.
Yeah.
They're written on the Bank of the United States, the Federal Reserve Bank.
Yeah.
They'll clear.
I totally agree.
And the rash. Sorry.
I totally agree, because like ever since I've done plenty of research on the gold standard too, and when they took back all the gold from citizens against their will almost, right?
Right.
It was like, now the value of the dollar is literally the paper that is printed on, and it's not backed by anything. So they just decided, okay, let's just do this perpetual motion of printing and buying treasuries and selling them to banks and lending money, but it's not valued at anything. So I 100% agree with you. Backing it on our natural gas, our oil, our land, our resources is
Right.
even our manpower, right? I mean, you could say, hey, by buying some of our debt or whatnot, or writing a check, you now own the manpower of 300 million people, or whatever it is,
Yeah,
right?
well put. Yeah. Yeah.
So I really like that a lot. And before we go, I'd like to hear what people might take away from your book, Badass Solutions, because I want you to talk about that for a second, and where they can pick it up, and but what they're going to learn from it.
Oh, thanks for that. I found 20 really major problems like what we've been discussing, and found really viable, doable solutions for those problems. And I have this overriding theme of the book, which actually kind of comes from, I'm real into quotes. There's a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "When the people lead, the leaders will follow." And it's what we talked about a little bit earlier
Yeah.
about our representatives work for us. So my hope is that there's something that really touches you or a reader that about abortion or healthcare or homelessness or military in the war, guns like we're talking about, crime, drugs, education, abortion,
So
you know
many.
all of these different topics where we have solutions and get involved. That's my hope. And it can be as little as telling your family.
Yeah.
Things happen around the dinner table,
Yeah.
the beginning of change.
100%.
And tell your friends and write to your
Congressman.
representatives.
Yeah.
And you can also become a member of an organization or thousands of organizations that
Volunteer. Yeah.
yeah, that work on these problems. And you can walk in with, hey, I think we have a solution for this,
I
and
love
and I
it.
want to help.
And where can people get this book?
It's wherever books are sold. I think the easiest is Amazon.
Okay.
So it's Badass Solutions, with or without the hyphen.
Okay.
And there's a website, badasssolutions.com. Again, with or without the hyphen. And you can learn a lot more and hopefully, get involved.
Awesome, guys. If you like this episode and you definitely want to get some solutions to some badass problems, get those badass solutions from Mitch's book, badasssolutions.com. Thanks for watching and see you guys in the next episode.